What's going on, guys? Welcome to this newest episode of Movie Battleground. I am your host, Matt Thier, back for the first time in what seems like 2 years, and I am judging this, what should be a fantastic match, between Jeremy Hastings and Russell Howell. Howell? Did I say your last name right?
Howell, yeah.
Howell?
Yeah, you
Okay.
did.
Okay.
You're good, Howell.
Alright, yeah, I'm known to mess up last names, so let's start introducing everybody. So, Russell, how's it going?
Going good, man. Really excited to make my debut here. I've followed a little bit of your guys' stuff, so I'm kind of getting ready to get into the ring here. I'm looking forward to it, so I think it should be a good match. Jeremy knows his shit, so this should be pretty good.
Awesome. And speaking of Jeremy, how you doing?
Going pretty good. Hoping I can hold my own today. I don't really have a whole lot of friends who are diehard movie fans, so movie debates aren't really things that I'm known for, but I think I've got some pretty decent arguments, and I'm looking forward to it.
All right, so we'll get right into this match, and before we get into it, just in case you guys are new, hello. And also, this is how each game will go. So it's 4 main game rounds, and each round will consist of an opening statement, which will be given by both Russell and Jeremy. Once they have given those, then we go into the actual argument. This is where you guys are going to claw at each other. You're going to rip at each other's throats, do all that stuff. We do encourage you guys to just go at it because we do love the passion and also all that good stuff. And then at the end, you'll have your final arguments to cap off why you think one is better than the other or one's worse than the other. And then I will come up with a decision. So we're going to get right into it. And as you know, last Monday, during Monday Night Football, new Star Wars The Last Jedi trailer dropped. And it's one of the biggest, I saw that, Jeremy. But it's one of the biggest viewed trailers for Lucasfilm. If not, it's their most viewed trailer as far as how long it's been up. You know, I could be wrong on that. But with that being said, what is the best moment from the new Star Wars The Last Jedi trailer? Now, we're going to start with Russell, and then we'll go to Jeremy on the second one and all that. So, Russell, what was the best moment from the trailer?
For me, it was when Kylo Ren, which we are led to believe by the trailer alone, that Kylo Ren's reaching out to Rey. So that, to me, was one of the most important parts of the trailer.
All right.
Jeremy? When he's extending his hand, yeah. So, yeah.
Okay. All right. So, Jeremy, what to you was the best moment in the trailer?
I thought long and hard about it because truth is I actually thought about this even before we found out this was going to be a question for Battleground. So I started thinking about all the moments that happened, which honestly there really isn't a wrong answer about what the best moment is. But for me, the answer is the moment where Luke is talking to Rey, where he says that line, "I've seen this raw strength only once before in my life. It didn't scare me enough before, and it does now." Because to me personally, that sets up this entire movie as a whole. But I'll get into that in the discussions.
All right. So now this is the time where you guys will go at it. So let's get right into it.
You want me to take the lead, Jer?
Go ahead, Russell. Yeah, you go
All
ahead.
right. Like I said, when Kylo Ren, I'm going by speculation of what I think the trailer is. Who knows how they're really going to piece this movie out with all these like red herrings. You think this way and you think that way, but I'm gonna go like I know it. Like Kylo Ren reaching out to Rey. To me, when you hear Kylo Ren, when you see him smash his mask against the wall and say, "Let the past die," and then you hear Rey talking, saying that she needs somebody to show her place in all this. I know you're thinking it's probably Luke, but why not switch it? Why not talk to Kylo Ren? Because Kylo Ren, near the end of the movie, you see his scar. It's almost healed. So we know this is later on at the end of the movie. So what not a better way to set it up to have Rey asking Kylo to show her place in all this, and basically, you know, his knowledge of the Force too, to team up with Rey to really, you know, learn the ways of the Force. To me, I think that sets up the most of the in episode 8 and going forward in episode 9. If it does go this way, then just imagine what episode 9 would lead to with those two working together. That's to me, I thought that was the most powerful part of the trailer.
All right. Well, the thing that I would say in response to that is, as you said, yes, that could be a powerful moment, and I did think about that for a second. But the moment that you did say you weren't sure if it's two separate scenes or not, and that's the thing that makes me worry, because you're taking the chance that the best moment in a trailer is a moment that doesn't actually exist in the movie as one clip. To me, why I think the Luke moment is the best is obviously number one, because it's Luke Skywalker speaking, so that's good in itself. But to me, it asks the most questions, because scene, you have all these theories that go in your head. Well, why has he been on this remote island for so long? What's going on? Why is he afraid now? Why was he not afraid before? Who is he talking about? Who is he referring to? Because everybody obviously thinks that, well, he's obviously referring to Kylo Ren, but what if he's not? You know, he could be talking about Rey. He could be talking about his father. He could be talking about so many different people with that line. And to me, I understand what you're saying about your moment could be setting up the whole movie as a whole and could be going into the next one. But to me, the most important thing is setting up this movie, because I think that's the most important thing. And I think Luke's line here, when he's talking about story and all that, to me, that is the whole point. That's going to set this entire movie going forward and sets up the whole movie as a whole. So to me, I think powerful moment than yours, because obviously, again, as I said, we don't really know if your moment actually happens. It could be two separate scenes. She could be talking to somebody else. So I thought long and hard about it, but to me, ultimately, I think Luke's moment is a little bit more powerful and a little bit more important.
I just think with Kylo smashing his mask against the wall saying, "Let the past die," I think he's having a character moment where he's actually contemplating, like, what am I doing with my life? I think he may turn over, and I think, you know, him extending his hand to Rey, I think this may just be that moment. You know, that just may reinforce that moment. And I think what better character to do that than extend your hand to Rey? Everyone's going to think, oh, well, it's probably a separate scene or something like that. But I'm like, well, what if not? Like, what if this really, you know, nobody's expecting it, Kylo to extend his hand to Rey. So I'm thinking, you know what, this could really, it makes sense too. You know what I mean? Letting the past die. He has an epiphany of, you know, his purpose in the world now. You know what I mean? I just think, you know, I think that could be really powerful. I think that could really set up 8 and going into 9. It could change the whole entire landscape of the Star Wars movies from here on out. So that's why I'm sticking with Kylo extending his hand to Rey in this.
I understand that, but at the same time, you were talking about the moment where he's, you know, smashing his helmet in the thing. Well, that's an entirely different moment in the trailer. To me, you haven't done enough, in my opinion, of saying why the very final scene is the most important scene in the film. You're kind of referring to other moments in the trailer to, you know, build up your moment, which to me, your moment as a whole doesn't stand up as much on its own because, again, we don't know if it's actually real.
But what I'm saying is, letting the past die, you're getting a moment where Kylo's actually, there's some clarity going on in Kylo Ren's mind, which may lead to this, him extending his hand out to Rey, saying, you know, her asking about showing him the ways of the her place in all this. And I think maybe because he himself is kind of lost, I think maybe that's what's going to happen with it. What better way? And I think, you know, you need that moment in the trailer in order to set that up with Kylo coming to that realization about letting the past die, in order for Rey saying she needs somebody to show her place in all this. And I think she's talking to Kylo about it.
But I would argue that you can't. That moment also wouldn't mean as much if you don't have Luke in the trailer as well, saying his part, because that makes you set up all the questions in your head about, would that be the reason why Rey is going to talk to Kylo Ren? Because obviously, you know, Rey did not have the vision of what Luke turned out to be in her mind, and so now she has to get answers from another party. That's why I think my moment in the end is still the best moment in the trailer, bar none.
But if Rey ends up going with Kylo to learn the ways of the Force and stuff like that, that could unleash hell. You know, that could unleash hell too. Who knows? So I think mine's the most important part of the film.
All right, so I think that's going to wrap up round 1 pretty much. We're going to go into our final arguments. This is where you guys are going to restate why yours is more powerful than the other or yours is better than the other. You know, take hits on theirs while also praising yours and lifting yours up even higher, and then I will come to a decision. It's neck and neck right now, so we're going to start with Russell since he did start off round one. So, Russell, kick us off.
I don't know. Like I said, I really believe Kylo Ren reaching out his hand to Rey is the most powerful part of this because this could set up the whole entire film. Is Rey going to go bad? Is Rey going to convert Kylo to the light side? We don't know that. This part here, I think, is the most important part of the film because this dictates everything that happens here on out. And yeah, Jeremy is right in his sayings too. I'm not bashing him, but I just feel, to me, when I was watching the trailer, this is the one that stuck out the most to me because even, yes, the stuff leading up to her to the hand reaching out, Kylo, I think, is coming to a realization that he wants to pass the die. He wants to move past that. And Rey herself doesn't know where she is in all this, and she's confused too. So why not Kylo Ren show Rey and reach out his hand and say, you know what, hey, maybe I can help you in all this. Maybe we can work on this together and figure out our place in this world. That's why I think that's the most powerful part of the film, to me.
All right. Jeremy, we'll see what you got.
Well, I mean, in a way, he didn't really take down, my moment at all. So I guess that kind of sums up something. But to me, when I saw the moment with Luke talking in the trailer, it made so many things go in my head about what was going on, what was going to progress forward. And to me, Russell's moment, while it is important, and he's talking about how, to the light side. However, what The Force Awakens did, it's already put doubt in people's minds if Kylo can even be redeemable at this point. Because many people, I've seen many people online say they don't want Kylo Ren to go back to the light side because to them he's already not redeemable. So him converting back to the light side and joining up with Rey to possibly team up, to them it is already a flaw in the plot and kind of already ruins the trilogy moving forward. So to me, Luke's scene is the most important scene because obviously he is kind of the character in this movie that is going to movie will go. If all his scenes connect well, this movie will be great. If all his scenes don't connect well, it could end up falling flat. So one line that we saw in the trailer with Luke determines so far that, all right, so far so good. Luke's already got some great lines in there, and how will everything progress forward? To me, it starts and ends with Luke Skywalker.
All right, so that concludes round one. This was a very, very good round. You guys made it really tough for me to decide what was better as far as the argument goes over the other, and I had to take, our final arguments into consideration because every time Jeremy would, hit on Russell's pick, Russell would strike back with why it's better. And he would also hit on something that Jeremy said. So it came down to the final argument. And I feel like Jeremy had more hits on Russell's. And not only that, there was something that Jeremy said about how what Luke says in that moment can set up the entire film. And I know Russell says that too. But Jeremy also hit that with saying that, it could be a completely different scene. Because, if you watch the trailer, the background, even though it looks like there's a little bit of, the red firelight thing going, at Rey's face, you can kind of tell that was different. So for that, I will have to give the point to Jeremy on this one. So it was very close. Right now, score is 1-1 or 1-0. Jeremy. Editing, it's fun. All right, so we're gonna go into our second one, and obviously, we know that this upcoming Friday is going to be the release date for what I think will be one of the greatest films ever made. It is Geostorm, and you can tell Geostorm is kind of like a Roland Emmerich movie. It's going to be terrible, but it's going to be fun. So with that, we thought it would be fun to ask, what is the best Roland Emmerich movie ever made? I have a feeling what one of them is going to be. So we're going to start with Jeremy on this one since he didn't go first last time. So Jeremy, kick us off.
Well, it might surprise you. My pick is actually not that movie you're probably referring to. It's actually a movie that came out a year before that so-called movie that will remain nameless in case Russell may have picked it. Spoilers. My movie was set in 1994, and it is a movie called Stargate, starring Kurt Russell and oh God, I forgot the other guy's name. Oh crap! It was played by Daniel Jackson. I'm trying to remember. It was the guy that played Ultron. Forgot what his name was. But anyway, the thing that makes this movie very, very cool is because, number one, a Roland Emmerich movie that's not a disaster movie. You could figure that out, how shocking that is. But the reason why this movie kind of gets forgotten in James Spader, that's what his name is. Sorry, I forgot that. The thing about this movie that sets it apart was it was not the typical Roland Emmerich disaster film. It had a lot of elements from that movie that you're probably referring to. What it basically was James Spader is this archaeologist talking about the conspiracy theorists about the Great Pyramids and who could have made them and all this stuff. And basically what they end up happening is in 1928, they discover this portal, what is called the Stargate, and they end up traveling to another civilization, an ancient Egypt civilization, where they find this civilization is taken over by an entity called Ra. Yes, Ra, for all you Yu-Gi-Oh fans out there, that Ra. So basically all this movie needs is a pharaoh named Yugi screaming it's time to duel, and you pretty much have a Yu-Gi-Oh episode. So to me, that movie kind of sets itself apart from all the other Roland Emmerich disasters that we've had. And so, yeah, that's why I think Stargate is the best Roland Emmerich movie.
All right. So now I'll go on to Russell. What is
I too, Jeremy didn't pick what he's probably thinking of. I chose The Day After Tomorrow as my favorite Emmerich movie. First off, we have Jake Gyllenhaal actually getting his first pretty much blockbuster role, because before this he was kind of an unknown actor. He was in Donnie Darko, which not a lot of people had watched, and October Sky. So this was really to showcase his acting too. Yes, you have a cheesy love story between him and Emmy Rossum. You have Dennis Quaid as the good action hero. The special effects, I thought, even 13 years later, watching it, it still holds up to me, as opposed to watching his other one that we're probably that we skipped was ID4. Like with the tornadoes destroying LA, the frozen Manhattan scene, all that stuff, it doesn't look too much CGI as you would expect it to probably look now if it was made. I think there's still humor in it. There's a scene, I believe, where they're in the library and they're burning tax law books and stuff like that, which I thought was kind of funny. And the overlying message of it too, maybe potentially about the threats of global warming too. So it also brings in an important message in that aspect too. So to me, I thought Roland Emmerich's movie Day After Tomorrow was one of his best, and it also helped launch Jake Gyllenhaal's career, because after you figure after this movie, the next movie he made was Brokeback Mountain, nominated for an Academy Award, and from there on you had Jarhead, Rendition, Zodiac. Anything else he's been in is flawless from that moment on. So to me, I had to go with Day After Tomorrow.
All right, so 2 picks that I didn't see coming. So let's go at it.
Well, the one thing that I'll say against Day After Tomorrow is kind of what I was hinting at. It's kind of right there in the middle of all that muck that Roland Emmerich made, so it does kind of get forgotten. To me, it kind of has the same elements of a 2012 or a 10,000 BC, or God forbid, an Independence Day Resurgence, but we won't get into that. To me, the thing about Independence Day, I guess that was the movie that we were all thinking was going to get picked. The reason why many people think that Independence Day is such a great movie is because it was kind of that first movie of that disaster element. But if you look at 1994 Stargate, you'll notice that Independence Day is very similar to 1994 Stargate. I mean, it's pretty much this different actors playing the same roles. You have this intergalactic, interstellar entity, showing up on ancient Egypt, trying to take over the planet, which ends up being another planet. James Spader's character is very much like Jeff Goldblum's character. Kurt Russell's character is an ex-military guy, just like Will Smith's ex-Air Force guy. So it was basically like Roland Emmerich took all the elements that worked from Stargate and put them in Independence Day and made this amazing film. But he already had an amazing film, and that's why many people probably think Independence Day is more overrated, because it just blatantly steals things from Stargate. I mean, it's the exact same movie with just as equally good at characters. I mean, Kurt Russell is one of his more underrated performances. James Spader is kind of the performance that put him on the map. You had, Russell talked about his love storyline in his movie. You have kind of the same thing in my movie with James Spader's character, Daniel Jackson, falling for the ancient Egyptian daughter of the king. So you kind of have the same elements in the grand scheme. And in the end, you have the same grand sacrifice at the very end where Kurt Russell, he's a person that, for those that don't know Stargate, throughout the entire movie, he's mourning the loss of his son who accidentally shoots himself. So throughout the entire movie, he's contemplating suicide. And so the whole plan of what he was going to do is once he showed up in this ancient world, he had rigged this bomb in their world. And when everybody went back through Stargate, he was going to blow up the bomb. And he was going to kill himself. And as this movie goes along, you see this character arc from Kurt Russell going, why do I, what's the point of life and all this? And then James Spader's trying to reason with them, and all the other characters are trying to reason with them that, life is a wonderful thing. And, sometimes you can't control things that happen. You just have to try and move on and learn from those mistakes. And throughout the movie, he realizes that and grows as a character throughout the movie. And then in the end, in kind of a shocking turn of events, James Spader's character is actually the one that chooses to stay behind and be with the ancient civilization. So it was just all these different elements of story twists and plot elements that obviously were used later on in other great movies from Roland Emmerich. And the thing about Day After Tomorrow is Jake Gyllenhaal was fine, but other than that, I didn't really feel any other emotional investment into any of those characters in that movie, unlike a Kurt Russell or James Spader in my movie. So to me, I think Stargate, that was released, many, many years beforehand, I think still holds up much better than Day After Tomorrow. So overall, it's a good movie, Day After Tomorrow. I mean, I personally liked it for what it was, but ultimately I think Stargate is still a much better movie in the grand scheme.
And that's the thing, going off what you said, it is a movie for what it is. I mean, that's what you have to go into going into these disaster films. You got to kind of just put your blinders on and say, you know what, I want to be entertained. I think this movie does it. 2012 was a snooze fest. I think that movie was 45 minutes too long. 10,000 BC could put you to sleep. His other movies weren't that successful. Day After Tomorrow was a box office crushed. I mean, it crushed box office. I think it was almost $550 million worldwide. And it was one of the top 10 movies of 2004. Like I said, I thought the movie was really good. I liked the humanistic relationship with Jake. I thought Quaid playing off with Jake Gyllenhaal was really good. And like I said, the special effects still hold up. You go back and watch Independence Day now, and you look and you're like, wow, some of the CGI and special effects of Independence Day don't hold up. And this movie is only 8 years later, and I think it's still 13 years later. Watching it again, it still looks like it was made yesterday. I still think it has that effect. And like I said, they put the humor in. Yes, they have to have the cheesy love story and romance to get all sorts of audiences involved and stuff like that for your female audiences that like that mushy stuff. I understand. But like I said, again, with the message about global warming, which is something that's still relevant right now, I still think that, that's an important message to take home with global warming. And like I said, this helped launch a career. He's still out there making great movies, as opposed to Will Smith, who's completely fallen off after, Independence Day and Men in Black, and then just kind of like took a nosedive after I Am Legend or whatever. And Jake's still making great movies and still putting out Oscar-worthy performances. He should have been nominated for Nightcrawler, I think. But like I said, I think Day After Tomorrow was really important in that aspect because that really helped launch his career. So for me, for the importance of that too, I got to go with Day After Tomorrow.
I mean, you talked about the relevance of your characters. I mean, my movie, James Spader and Kurt Russell. I mean, you had Tom Hiddleston in there. You pretty much have the entire MCU villain list. So it's not like they're not irrelevant in any way. So ultimately, your movie does have good lessons as well, but my movie has just as equally as good lessons. Obviously, it talks about embracing other civilizations and other cultures. You look at Kurt Russell's character. There's a couple of scenes throughout the movie where when these ancient people, are looking at the military guns and the grenades and all that, and Kurt Russell's freaking out about, no, don't do this, I don't want to lose another person, and all that, and you feel for that character throughout the entire movie, because these people don't understand, but it's about understanding what these people in this civilization and this culture have been through, and you see him adapt as the movie goes on. And James Spader's character is the same way. I mean, he's kind of this, that doesn't know anything that's going on, and so which he doesn't understand what's going on in his own genre and his own generation, and then goes back to ancient civilization, and he almost looks like he blends in more with that civilization than in his current one. So the way that everything was built up, obviously it has Ra and the villain, which I thought was very good, very compelling villain. You learn about his backstory and all that, find out he's basically this ancient alien being who took possession of a young boy at a young age, and basically took possession of him, and basically became this god that basically took over all these people. And it basically becomes kind of a current age story about people in the military, people that represent freedom, of trying to save another generation from slavery and oppression and all that. So there are elements in Stargate that still hold up today when it comes to what's going on in our world, what's going on in life itself. Why are people still being oppressed? We can't have that. We shouldn't have that ever again. And to me, Day After Tomorrow, again, it's just a disaster movie. It's got elements that are fun, but it's just another Roland Emmerich disaster movie that, well, okay, it still doesn't stand apart from many of Roland Emmerich's other disaster movies, which he pretty much did a disaster movie every single one after Independence Day, because he thought, hey, Independence Day made nearly $1 billion. I'm just going to make disaster movie after disaster movie and blah, 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 blah. And it's the same old song and dance, and most of them ended up being crap. And to me, if Day After Tomorrow was the first one that was released like Independence Day was, I think people would think much, much higher of the Day After Tomorrow than they do, because it was kind of just marred in between all that garbage that he put out. So I understand what you're saying. I mean, like I said, I didn't have any problem with the movie personally, but Stargate, to me, was, this action-adventure sci-fi movie that was kind of ahead of its time, which obviously Roland Emmerich realized that, because then he did the very next year with Independence Day and had the exact same elements. So to me, I think Stargate just stands out way more on its own than The Day After Tomorrow.
To touch on your thing real quick about Spader and Kurt Russell, after that movie, though, they pretty much fell off the grid. You had what? You had David Spade making movies about sex and car crashes, and then you had what? Kurt Russell was in awful movie after awful movie in the 90s. You had that movie with Steven Seagal that was really bad. You had Backdraft about the firefighters, and then he fell off the grid. You didn't see him. I'm saying this movie platformed Jake Gyllenhaal to still making films right now, and still making relative films right now. That's what I'm trying to say. Those other guys, put them in the MCU, great. But I mean, they haven't had a career since Stargate. Stargate now, you could pick Joe Schmo off the street and say, hey, do you want to be Ultron, or you want to play Chris Pratt's dad in Guardians of the Galaxy? I mean, to me, Jake Gyllenhaal, absolutely. So, and he's still relevant actor, still making great movies. Got to go with Jake. Got to go with Day After Tomorrow for sure on that.
All right, so that's going to conclude our main argument for this round. So we're going to get into the final arguments. Once again, praise your movie, take down the other movie. Since Jeremy opened this round, we're going to start with Jeremy, then we'll go to Russell, and then I will have my decision. So Jeremy, go ahead.
I think when it boils down to is when you have two great actors like a James Spader and a Kurt Russell playing off each other, it was a great movie in itself it was a different kind of movie that we hadn't seen before, especially in 1994, with sci-fi mixed with ancient civilization. It's like, who would ever think in 1994 a movie like that could even work? And not only did it turn out to be, it actually turned out to be a really great movie. To me, like, it had so many different morals, so many different lessons that it told. And to me, Day After Tomorrow had some lessons, but not a whole lot. It just, to me, it's a movie that once you see once, you can pretty much do without for the rest of your life. And to me, Stargate is just the better overall movie with the better characters, with better actors. And Stargate to me is just the clear, better movie.
Okay, Russell.
I got to go. Like I said, again, Day After Tomorrow. The movie shattered the box office. It made over close to $550 million. It was successful. Like I said, the special effects still hold up to this day. I really think that Jake really did a good movie, carrying the movie with Quaid. And pretty much, like I said, the important message of global warming, that's something that's still relevant 13 years later. So I don't think that does not, convey an important message. I mean, we're still talking about global warming. So obviously it's still in the forefront 13 years later. And again, launching a career. I mean, to say that, Spader's career and Kurt Russell's career is even compared to Jake Gyllenhaal is like night and day. This guy has been in so many great movies after this Day After Tomorrow. He has been in a ton of good movies that, he has got nominated for Academy Awards for. Kurt Russell and David Spade David Spade. I can't even talk. James Spader can't even say that, and then they disappear for 20 years, and then, they're in the MCU. That makes him a good actor. Well, yeah, Sly Stallone's in there, too. You're going to say that Stallone's a great actor, too. You know what I mean? Come on. Like I said, Day After Tomorrow, hands down, and it still has that. It conveys a message about global warming, something that's still talked about 13 years later. Absolutely important. Got to go with Day After Tomorrow for sure, all day.
All right, so that's going to conclude round 2. This was another really close round, and for a while, I was on Russell's side, with the whole thing he stated about how, the lesson with global warming is in there, and how it's so relevant and important for today, and how this launched Jake Gyllenhaal's career. And I feel like he had the upper edge, but then Jeremy said something that I think took the round where this is another disaster. It's just another disaster movie. And if this was the first one to be released, it would be looked at differently. So it was really close. I almost went with Russell, but because Jeremy did state that one thing, I felt like that really, brought yours down. So I will have to go with Jeremy. It's going to be 2-0 right now. Just remember, Russell, you're still in it. You still have a great shot to win this game. We've seen people down 3-0 come back and win, so it's nothing to worry about yet. But, hopefully you do get a point so you can get into the speed round. So we're going to go on to round 3. And, American Made. That was released a few weeks back. Pretty good movie. A lot of people liked it. But then Tom Cruise had another movie come out earlier in the summer, and I was supposed to start a new universe, and it was The Mummy, and we know how that came out to be. And I don't hate it, but a lot of people do, and yeah, it's not a good movie. So with that, we thought we would ask, what is the worst Tom Cruise movie? And we're going to start with Russell here, and then we'll go to Jeremy. So Russell, what is the worst Tom Cruise movie?
The kind of play off what your intro in there with The Mummy. The Mummy was its own movie, so it didn't really have the groundwork before it to kind of set up, what's going on with the movie. I chose Jack Reacher 2 because it did have that opportunity to go with. The first Jack Reacher was Tom Cruise at his best, the action-packed type movie that we really didn't expect. I remember seeing it, and because it was filmed in Pittsburgh, and I remember we saw it near Pittsburgh, and I remember saying, wow, this is like really, really good. And it didn't really get a lot of buzz back in 2012 when it came out. Throw Jack Reacher 2 into the mix, and you expect that same type of movie, but this movie, it almost looked like kindergartners or first graders kind of wrote this movie. There was just random scattered violence in the movie. It was like really, really generic. Because the plot had involved like drug and arms smuggling, and then at the hands of the military, and then all that fun stuff. And just the dialogue sucked. There's scenes in the movie where they're like, "Oh, we need to ditch the car and get into my email," like just stupid shit. Like action-packed movie set up before you. You had the groundwork of what worked because this movie was successful, and it did get really good reviews for Tom Cruise, and you put this movie out, and it's like night and day. It just absolutely sucked, and it was really disappointing to see Jack Reacher 2 fall to new lows with this. I couldn't get into it. And it was disappointing because what I was given in Jack Reacher, you wanted that and more, and it just crashed. It crashed and burned right before your eyes. So I had to go Jack Reacher 2 for his worst movie. for sure.
All right.
And it was a box office bomb too.
All right. So, Jack Reacher 2 versus whatever Jeremy picks. So, Jeremy, what is the worst Tom Cruise movie to you?
I gotta wonder if you actually hacked my computer because you actually took my answer, because the answer is in fact The Mummy.
Oh.
Because, I mean, where to begin with this colossal of a movie? As you brought up, it was supposed to launch this great cinematic dark universe. You had all these great actors, Russell Crowe, Sophia Boutella, and Tom Cruise. We thought, what could go possibly wrong? And everything went wrong in this movie. I mean, this movie was a complete disaster from the start. It went for 2 hours and went for 30 minutes too long. To me, none of the elements actually made sense for this movie to be an overall success. I mean, the story didn't make any sense. It was plotting and boring. And I'll get into the rest later because I gotta wet my whistle because I'm about to go nuclear on this shit.
All right. Well, this should be a fun round, so you guys can go at it. Either one of you can start it off. Let's see what you guys got.
You go ahead, Jeremy. You're dying to wet your whistle there, so go for it.
Oh, good. I mean, you look at all the elements that this movie had. Russell Crowe. You could arguably say that this was the biggest waste of an actor and character in the history of cinema. Russell Crowe as Dr. Henry Jekyll, Mr. Edward Hyde, and this movie completely wastes him in this movie. It doesn't make any sense what the hell this guy is in this movie for. It could have been any character whatsoever. You could have had Joe Schmo played by Johnny Knoxville and him explaining, well, how do you know about all this stuff? Well, I was a graduate at Blowjob State University. Oh, how about that? And the whole point of how he becomes Mr. Hyde is just so ridiculous. How does he become Mr. Hyde? His eyes change color. Ooh! I mean, to me, the action makes no sense. The biggest action scene in this movie is Tom Cruise and Russell Crowe having a fist fight with one another for 8 minutes. There is no action whatsoever. This movie is half expedition, half unwatchable. And they say it's fantasy in the genres, which I can understand because I was fantasizing wanting to watch something else throughout this entire thing. The ending was completely confusing. I remember watching this movie in the theater. Everybody watching the ending with the artifact thing with Tom Cruise. He breaks the thing and suddenly he becomes a demigod, which wasn't explained well enough at all in the movie. When you had all these talented actors, they can't explain how this happens. They can't explain. Breaks an artifact, becomes a demigod, kisses the mummy, steals our powers. Now he's even a stronger demigod. I remember people watching the movie, watching that scene, confused as fuck. They didn't know what the hell was going on during that. And then he's just riding off with his best friend who he thought was dead for most of the movie, and he was a zombie. And then he's just riding off into the sunset in, Ancient Civilization. How about that? Another Ancient Civilization movie. And it doesn't make any sense. I mean, it just ended with a complete thud. Sophia Boutella's character, absolutely wasted. They make you think halfway through the movie that she's the sympathetic character. You feel sorry for her because Russell Crowe's character is talking about, well, we have to kill her. She can't live in this civilization. And so she's chained up like some kind of prisoner, and you start to feel sorry for the character. And then what happens? 10 minutes later, oh, no, she's still pure evil. She's going to kill everybody. It's like, what the hell is the point of that storytelling? That didn't make any sense whatsoever. It's almost like the writers were just like, hey, we're going to try to trick you to make you look like we're good writers. Ha, ha, ha. And it just, nothing worked about this movie. I didn't believe for a second Tom Cruise's love interest throughout the whole movie. I didn't understand any reason why his best friend was ever his best friend. Nothing about the movie made any sense whatsoever. It took way too long to develop. It took way too long for Russell Crowe's character to show up, who wasn't that impressive to begin with. And to me, it took way too long to develop. And when it did develop, nothing in it worked whatsoever.
Well, to play off your point, you said that they underutilized him and he wasn't in it long, but they're doing that in movies now anyway. Look at how Justice League set up. How they're setting that movie up. They sprinkled in the Flash and Aquaman and those characters just to get and Wonder Woman to get to get it lined up for the next movie and stuff like that. I think they're doing the same thing with the Mummy. I think they're going to obviously utilize Russell Crowe a lot more. And again, this is just a setup movie. This is just to set this up for more movies. the reason why I chose Jack Reacher 2 is because we already had a Jack Reacher. The movie was really, really good. And then you put shit up to follow it. So to me, it's like, okay, The Mummy might not have been the best movie in the world. I understand that, but it can only go up from there is how I look at it. When you have something like Jack Reacher and you're expecting something better and you get shit, it sucks. So to me, like I said, I got to go Jack Reacher 2. I understand your point. I see it, but they're doing that a lot nowadays in these big cinematic worlds and stuff like that. They're doing it with sprinkling in Justice League characters to hype the movie up and stuff like that. And then you can say, oh, well, they were in Batman v Superman for a second. You saw the Flash. It's the same type of thing.
But the difference between that is Flash and Aquaman are going to get their own movies. There has been no confirmation that we're going to get any Dr. Jekyll, Mr. Hyde movie whatsoever. And you talked about how, well, only place they can go is up. Well, great news. We just found out recently they've now delayed Bride of Frankenstein. Oh, great, Universal. You're one movie in, and you're already second-guessing what you're going to do in this universe moving forward. It's like they had no direction whatsoever. You could tell halfway through the movie, Tom Cruise is starting to lose interest. When you start getting bored, Tom Cruise, you know you have done screwed up very, very badly. And we have no idea when Tom Cruise's character is going to come back. We have no idea when Russell Crowe's character is going to come back. Sophia Patel's character looks like she's done, dead, gone. So it's like this is supposed to be the first movie of a universe, and none of these characters look like they're coming back anytime soon in the near future. And you talked about Jack Reacher 2. Well, I didn't like Jack Reacher 2. It's still a Tom Cruise movie, action-adventure movie that still has action elements in it. Very much like a Mission Impossible that Tom Cruise has done. Not saying it's on the same level as Mission Impossible. I mean, I would be an idiot to even say that. But the point of your movie is it's an action-adventure movie that has action in it. And that's the whole point of what that movie is. It's just supposed to be a cheesy, fun movie. And for better or worse, I think the movie did deliver on that. Was it as good as the first one? No. The Mummy, though, had so much more hype, so much more potential, and landed so much lower below expectations. It didn't even hit the top 10 of the box office during the summer. Like, not even overall during the summer. A movie with Tom Cruise and Russell Crowe can't be a top 10 box office movie during the summer? Are you kidding me? And now we unfortunately have to deliberately admit that a Brendan Fraser movie about the Mummy, a guy who's been completely run out of Hollywood, I don't think he's made a movie in nearly 10 years, literally made a better Mummy movie with Tom Cruise and Russell Crowe. That should be an embarrassment amongst cinema. To me, it's asinine. If you had told me that 20 years ago that Brendan Fraser would make a better movie about a franchise than a movie with Tom Cruise and Russell Crowe in it, I would have thought you were batshit crazy. And now here we are, 2017. We now have to realize that as reality because it happened. And to me, there's no direction going forward. They delayed Bride of Frankenstein. We have no idea when that movie's going to come out. It could be delayed 6 months, could be delayed a year. For all we know, because we don't know, I'm not sure exactly how much The Mummy made universally because it bombed domestically, but it was pushed back to the point where you have to wonder if they even think that this is going to work going forward. And it sucks because I was really looking forward to seeing The Mummy. I was really looking forward to seeing all these great actors. You know, Johnny Depp, Javier Bardem was going to be in it. And after seeing The Mummy, I have no interest to see another Dark Universe movie, which to me is telling how terrible this movie was because this was something that I had such high hopes for with this universe. Actually looking forward to seeing a bunch of these movies. And one movie in, I now have no interest to see anything else that this studio makes with this universe. And that is just sad.
But to me, I feel like a lot of people said the same thing after BVS. And look, they released Wonder Woman, and Wonder Woman takes off. So to me, I think The Mummy's still a salvageable franchise. I still think that there's hope for it. Like I said, Jack Reacher 2 for me, I know action-packed. I understand what I was trying to get into, but it fell flat for me. The dialogue sucked. The action wasn't as good as the first one. It tanked in the box office. Dialogue sucked. It was like it was written by children. I gotta go Jack Reacher 2 for what I was expecting from the first one, setting it up. Again, The Mummy was its own type of movie. This was like we didn't know what we were getting. It was like a box of chocolates. We had no idea what we were gonna get. This Jack Reacher, you knew what set the table. You knew what was gonna go. And for the second one to suck and fall as flat as it did was a lot more disappointing for me. The Mummy, I still think, has hope. I really still think that they're going to spin it out because it's a moneymaker. And I still think, like I said, you can only go up from there. So, to me, I got to go Jack Reacher on this.
All right, so that's going to conclude the main arguments. So we're going to go into our final arguments. Once again, try to praise the other movie because that's going to really help you in this decision because you guys are about even right now. So we'll start with Russell, and then we'll go to Jeremy, and then I'll have my decision.
Kind of like how I mentioned, the Mummy in itself was its own movie. So, okay, it might not have been the greatest movie. I completely agree with it because I thought that was like runner-up with my Jack Reacher too. So I had it on the bottom of the list. Doesn't take away from it like BVS, the same exact comparison. Oh, BVS sucked and it was awful, and then Wonder Woman catapult and DC's back on the map. And there's high hopes for Justice League now. Okay? To me, I feel like there's a lot of comparisons there because with the Mummy was... They were getting out of it, okay? Yeah, the movie underperformed. I understand that, but you have a lot of talented actors in there. And I think if they can get their stuff, they can get their shit right and everything, I think that movie could be really good because you have Johnny Depp. You have a great actor in him. You have a great actor in Russell Crowe and Tom Cruise. You have, and Javier Bardem. You have Oscar-winning actors that can literally launch this into a new world. Yeah, the first movie wasn't that great. I completely 100% agree. Like how I told Jeremy, there's only up from here. You can't get worse. There's only up. To me, with Jack Reacher, you had everything set up. You had the whole entire storyline of the first one, setting it up into the second one. And to underutilize the character that you built in a whole entire movie 4 years later and fall flat on its ass like that, it sucks. Yes, I understand it was an action movie and it was supposed and random violence and stuff like that. But there's only so much of that shit you can watch when it's like, okay, this is like fucking ridiculous now. You know what I mean? There's only so much of it you can watch with plots involving drugs and arms smuggling and all this other shit that is in like every other movie in the world. You know what I mean? Like even American Made, they smuggle drugs, they smuggle arms and stuff like that. The same type of thing. So to me, even with this cheesy dialogue of Jack Reacher 2, I got to go with it. There was another quote I didn't get to put in. He said, I want to know what your favorite flavor of ice cream is, and I want to know it yesterday. Shit like this was actually written in the movie. So to me, it's like, it's a no-brainer. Yeah, I understand the Mummy was bad, but to me, I think it can only go up from here, and I think with the caliber of actors that you have supporting that universe, the sky's the limit for this. I still think they can get back on the map with the Monsters or the Monsters universe or whatever, the Universal Monsters franchise.
All right.
Well, to me, I mean, you said you didn't know what we were going to expect, but like you said, we had a movie with Tom Cruise, Russell Crowe. That's arguably two of the best action thriller actors still working today. And you can't not only make a good movie, you can't not only make an okay movie, you didn't even make the movie fun. Like, there was two Mummy movies before that you could have took anything out of that was funny or entertaining and put that into your version of the movie, and you could have made it somewhat redeemable. And the fact that they just went out and did completely their own thing, that could have been completely hit or miss, and it turned out to be a complete whiff in every facet of the word. I mean, you talk about dialogue in your movie is bad. I mean, the dialogue in my movie is no better at all. You have all these stupid, scenes when, he's getting drowned by the rats, or, his, love interest, which is not believable whatsoever, is getting pulled down, and it looks like he's about to save her, and then it's like, no, oh, there's a couple zombies going right behind me. I'm going to swim away. I'm not going to try to save her life. It's like not even believable. That's supposed to be the love interest, and you didn't make any attempt to save that woman's life. And then, suddenly she shows up and she's not dead and all that. And, I'm going to use mystical powers that I gained from a demigod to bring her back to life. And I'm going to disappear. And it's like everything, nothing made sense. I mean, and I understand what you're saying. They're going to have more movies to explain it. But again, none of those characters are going to be around anytime soon to explain it. So you're just left with all these blanks in your head, wondering what the hell's going to happen. And again, like you said, there's nowhere to go but up. But again, they've delayed Bride of Frankenstein. So for right now, we don't know if there is anywhere to go to up, only to go down, but dead as a franchise.
But fortunately for you, the big chasmic thing is money. And if they have a film that they can budget and again use the actors to catapult. I know The Mummy wasn't very successful. I think it was more successful globally than domestically. But if you have actors like of that caliber, especially with Johnny Depp, anything he's in is a box office success. The new Pirates of the Caribbean was awful, but because of the name and because of him, it made money. And that's the same thing what I think with this Monsters universe thing too. If they end up getting him regardless, money's going to be the factor of that one. If it's going to make money and they can push it out, they're going to push it out one way or another. They're going to push it out. It may not go forward with that same actor or if Sophia or Johnny. They're going to push it though to make money. And to me, like I said, you can only go up from there. So to me, I think there's still hope.
Johnny Depp's movie comes out 3 years from now. For all we know, there might not even be a universe by then.
Well, to me, like I said, you can only go up from there. So to me, I like I said, I would go the Jack Reacher being the worst.
All right, so that's going to end round 3. I allowed a little bit of extra arguments for you guys because this was what seemed like a very passionate round for you guys. I think from the beginning, I did have a clear winner, and as the rounds were coming to a close, it got a little closer. But with this one, I will have to go with Russell. I think Russell won the round, and like I said, when it was even, you guys were, basically arguing the same thing. But I feel like Russell had more points to make about your movie, why it was better than you had towards him, and that's what ultimately made me choose him. And also, just a little fact check: The Mummy has made over $400 million worldwide, so I guess it's being considered as a success. Not like a big success, obviously, but it's made the money to where they'll most likely move forward. I just think Bride of Frankenstein is being pushed because of maybe some of the casting. Angelina Jolie, they probably haven't found the Bride of Frankenstein yet. So without that, so we're going to get into our round 4. Honestly, I don't know why this question was brought up, but what's the best spoof movie? We'll start with Jeremy on this one.
All right. When you think of spoof movies, to me, obviously, many people just think of, what's the movie with the best continuous slapstick humor? But to me, a spoof movie needs to have a little bit more to that. And my choice for the best spoof movie is the very first Naked Gun movie, Files from Police Squad with Leslie Nielsen. To me, this wasn't just the typical spoof movie because it actually had a story to tell. It had a relationship between Frank Drebin and Jane that you actually believed and you actually connected with moving forward as the movie progressed forward. And on a side note, it does become more fun by the day because I love seeing O.J. Simpson go through constant torture time after time after time after time.
All right. Russell, what's your pick?
To me, I went with, and I did a little bit of research on it, trying to figure out what I thought, because I had a big list, and it was funny because Naked Gun was on my list too. I went with Tropic Thunder. I went with a little bit something different, something within the last 10 years. Tropic Thunder, the Ben Stiller directed movie. I thought this movie, utilization of a point that Jeremy was saying, when you have actors and stuff like that don't work together and stuff like that, you had everybody in here and everybody worked together perfectly. It was a well-oiled machine. This movie was hilarious. It's still funny, and it makes fun of how ridiculous movies were in the 1990s. So to me, I got to go Tropic Thunder. And the performance by RDJ, I mean, that's enough said. That can carry anything. So got to go Tropic Thunder.
All right, so we got another movie with Tom Cruise in it going up against Naked Gun. So either one of you can start off this argument. So there you go. You guys got about 5 minutes on the clock for this one.
All right, Jeremy, I'll take the lead on this one. You don't mind? To me, like I said, Tropic Thunder for sure. I had read somewhere that Ben Stiller actually had this idea in the mid-'80s, and it just took so long to come to fruition. His performance as Simple Jack, I thought, was really, really funny. It was very comedic. Tom Cruise's character, that Rick Peck, was absolutely hilarious. This probably is Tom Cruise's funniest scenes in any film, bar none. And the cameos that he used, he used Steve Coogan, Danny McBride, Nick Nolte, Matthew McConaughey, the whole entire cast, Jack Black, on and on and on and on. There's so many good performances in this movie, and I think the movie is just so funny as a whole. The movie was a box office blast. It did really well. It was the 5th highest grossing movie of 2008. And Robert Downey got a Oscar nomination out of it. I thought the movie was hilarious. And RDJ kind of made spoof of himself almost as a serious method actor, Kirk Lazarus, kind of making fun of himself too as an actor. So to me, I got to go with Tropic Thunder. I think it still holds up and it's still funny. I can watch it I could watch it all day and still laugh at it. And I always pick up different things that I didn't see about it, which is always great in a movie. So to me, I absolutely got to choose Tropic Thunder.
Well, I never would have considered Tropic Thunder as a spoof movie. To me, I would have personally thought of it as just a hardcore comedy. But I guess it was accepted, so I guess I got to go with it. So to me, the thing that made The Naked Gun stand apart from as best spoof movie, as I was kind of starting from, it wasn't just joke, but they had meanings behind each joke, which added to the humor. And then you had the relationship between Leslie Nielsen and Priscilla Presley, and that made the jokes even more funnier because you have this romantic relationship between them, and at the same time it's still telling this story of Leslie Nielsen's character. He's talking about cops aren't meant to have relationships, and it's always going to turn out bad in the end. And as the story progresses, you see Leslie Nielsen's character begin to embrace relationship and begin to embrace everything, which is very relatable in the world. Tropic Thunder, it doesn't really have anything relatable to it, so if you want to put that against it, hey, it's still funny. I still love Tropic Thunder to death. But to me, there's more funny moments in Naked Gun, which to me is the definition of what a spoof movie is. Just a hardcore comedy making fun of itself. And Ricardo Montalban was a great villain. I mean, as soon as you say Ricardo Montalban, there's not a damn thing he could do that's wrong. And you go through all these things and different elements, and the plot twist to try to assassinate the Queen, and all this, the Queen of England, and all this stuff. At the very end, where you have that moment where Jane is, being hypnotized by by Montalban's, hypnosis thing, and it looks like she's about to kill Frank Drebin, and you feel really emotional with that because you're like, my God, please don't kill Frank Drebin. He's great. You two know that you belong together. And then Abel, when he pulls out the wedding ring, it's like, I love you, Jane. And she breaks out of the hypnosis. And it's like, it's this great, wonderful moment that love can break any problem. And you felt a real connection with those characters, as opposed to Tropic Thunder. You had funny, moments in it. But to me, for it to be just a straight comedy, you don't really feel anything else as the movie goes on, other than, you got some good characters. I mean, obviously you said Robert Downey was nominated for an Oscar, but other than that, there's really not a character there to embrace, that you can relate to. To me, there's tons of characters, whether it be Priscilla Presley's character or Leslie Nielsen's character, or hopefully not OJ, because I hope that kind of torture hasn't been upon you. But there's so many different elements of this movie that connect with so many different people, and that you can still laugh at it. I mean, you look at all the funny scenes from Naked Gun. Nice beaver. Thank you. I just had it stuffed. Here, let me help you with that. And pulls out a stuffed beaver. And you just, every single moment in that movie is just so laugh out loud funny, roll on the floor laughing. To me, that is the perfect definition of what a pure spoof comedy is. There's more funny moments than I can even count, which to me, and especially when you look at all the sequels that came after it, you would think that when you have kind of a lackluster sequel, it would kind of pull the original down. Naked Gun 1 still holds up even today. You can watch it on Comedy Central today, and you're still laughing at every single joke that plays. And to me, especially with a movie that came out nearly 20 years before Tropic Thunder, for nearly all those jokes to still work and still connect and still laugh at and still feel the connection, the relationship between the characters, to me, that is what makes Naked Gun a best movie, not only in a genre, but possibly even in a decade also.
Well, to me, how you said about character development, you don't need really character development in order to sympathize with a character. Look at Dunkirk. Dunkirk, there was zero character emotion or connection to characters and stuff like that, and it was deemed a success. I mean, I on the other hand, didn't like it, but still, you didn't need that, relating with the characters as much. To me, like I said, I just think Tropic Thunder, to me, it was fresh, it was funny, it was something different at the time, because in 2008, when you were getting, box office hits and stuff like that, this was something completely different. And to make fun of it, and they didn't take themselves too seriously. They had fun with it. You could actually see that there was a genuine having fun on camera, on screen, and probably around on behind the scenes too. You have those. You have Ben Stiller. You got RDJ. You got Jack Black. You have Danny McBride. And you got all these funny comedians that are still funny today. And to me, I don't know. I think it really touched upon a different level. Like how you said, it wasn't in-your-face spoof, but it absolutely made fun of how ridiculous '90s action movies were, like and early '80s movies with like Rambo and all that shit. Absolutely made fun of stuff like that, and to me, I appreciated it, and it's something that I think later on, 20 years down the road, if we have this conversation, I think Tropic Thunder will still make you laugh. There'll still be scenes in there that make you laugh and make other people laugh too. So to me, I think it'll hold up for the long haul as well.
All right, so that's going to conclude the main argument for this round. We're going to go into our final arguments. We're going to start with Russell. I believe you started the round, right?
Yeah, I think so. Yeah, I did.
Okay, so we'll start with you. And then we'll go to Jeremy. I could be wrong, but we'll start with you, and then we'll come up with a decision.
Oh, I absolutely like Jeremy's pick. Something tells me I'm into something good. The safe sex thing with the body condom. Tons of funny scenes in Naked Gun. But on the same token, Tropic Thunder has just as many funny scenes. You have Simple Jack. You have Tom Cruise as that crazy Rick Peck, who, I mean, again, is one of probably Tom Cruise's funniest moments in all of his catalog of movies, I think. And a career performance for RDJ. You know, RDJ was off the map there for a while after all of his trouble with drugs and stuff like that. And places didn't want to take a chance on him. And finally, Iron Man and movies like Tropic Thunder really helped catapult his career because the guy was a great actor. Anything that he has done in the past with Chaplin, or even was really good in the Rodney Dangerfield comedy Back to School. Anything RDJ has been in, and this helped kind of catapult him up too into the more of the movies coming out now. That along with Iron Man. But to me, it's still something that's still funny. RDJ was an actor, who immerses himself in any role, and that's basically how RDJ is in real life. So for him to pretty much play himself as an actor, I think was really funny, and says wonders of the versatility of Robert Downey Jr. as an actor. He is that good as an actor. I think he's probably one of the best ones out there today from his range of where he can go. He can be funny. He could be in an action movie. He can do anything. And again, like how I said, this movie didn't try to cheat itself. It was just having fun. And I think it was funny how it did touch upon how like ridiculous and cheesy the 90s action movies were. And like I said, a great utilization of cameos. Steve Coogan was hilarious in the film. Danny McBride, Nick Nolte, all those guys were great in the film, and it was like a big melting pot of different people that you wouldn't expect to be in the movie. But yeah, like I said, I totally give props to Naked Gun. Naked Gun is a classic. But I was thinking something outside the box, something that not a lot of people would say when you think spoof movie. Oh, Airplane, Naked Gun, like the bread and butter of spoof movies. And I totally understand that. But to me, like I said, this was something that played something different. It was a different aspect of spoof movies. And to me, I think it still holds up. I think it's still funny, and it has great performances all around. And I really, really think that RDJ really, really carried this movie, because if not him in the movie, I don't think the movie would have been as funny and successful as it was. So to me, I gotta go Tropic Thunder.
All right. Jeremy, I'm gonna drop it to you, and then I'll come with my decision.
I like the fact that he brought up. I think I'm in something good, because Naked Gun. You would think that it's just a great spoof movie. It actually had a great soundtrack. I'm in something good. I love L.A. The Zuckers did a great job trying to throw a joke into absolutely everything. I mean, hell, even the opening credits is a freaking complete comedy sketch. And up a roller coaster and all that crap. I mean, they found a way to make perfect humor into everything, and it just blended so well. I mean, especially even back then. I mean, when you thought of spoofs, parroting TV shows or other movies and all that, it was a big gamble, parroting something like Police Squad to that extent. I mean, I'm not saying that, they wouldn't try to parody Police Squad, but to go to that egregious attempt to do something and it still works so well. Obviously, when you have an actor like Leslie Nielsen, who still at that time was not specifically known as a comedy guy. Yeah, he had done Airplane, but that was about it. Character that connected so well, and to have love interest and chemistry throughout that entire movie that worked as well as it did. To me, Naked Gun, it came out in the 80s. You could still sit down, watch it today, and it's just as entertaining as a Tropic Thunder or any other comedy movie in any era. And to me, that's why I think Naked Gun, overall, just as many different spectrums and many different genres, holds up in not only just a spoof movie, not only just a comedy, but just a good movie overall, just to sit down and enjoy.
All right, so that's going to conclude this round. Very good round by both of you guys. Now, before going in, I do want to say Tropic Thunder is actually in my top 5 favorite comedies of all time. So I had to take the bias out of it when I going into this. And I liked what you said about how, gave RDJ an Oscar nomination and all those things. But I felt like Jeremy had this round because he did hit on your movie a lot more than what you did to his. I feel like rather than, hitting on Naked Gun, you were praising your movie. And yeah, you did take some shots, at Naked Gun, but I feel like Jeremy took even more at the end. So I will have to
me,
go
Naked. Well, I understand that, and to me, like I said, Naked Gun's one of those types of movies that it's up in the top 5 of spoof movies. I went a non-conventional route, and that's kind of why there's really nothing bad to say about Naked Gun. So that's probably why I really couldn't really hit on it much. So yeah.
Yeah, this was going to be a very hard round for both of you guys, I thought, because these are 2 great comedies. So once I heard, both of your picks, I was like, I don't know how you guys are going to get a lot of hits on these, but I do feel like Jeremy did hit it a little more. And also he did, point out there's more, things in the movie rather than the comedy that are great, like the soundtrack stuff. So I will have to go with Jeremy. It was very close in this round, but it is 3-1. We will go to our speed round, and this is how it's going to work. If Jeremy gets one of these points, he will win the game. Russell, you still can win the game, but you got to have a clean sweep. And if you do that, it's going to help you in the rankings and everything for sure. So we're going to kick it off with you guys choosing one of these 2 movies. Which of these is the better movie? Rudy or Hoosiers?
I'm gonna go Rudy. Am I allowed to go right into it?
Yeah, so you'll go first. Jeremy, you will argue for Hoosiers.
All right.
And then Russell, you'll argue for Rudy. How the rounds are going to go is you'll have 20 seconds.
Wait, what am I arguing
for? Hoosiers.
Oh, Hoosiers. All right.
All right, so you'll have 20 seconds to, give your opening argument, and then we'll let, Jeremy go, and then you'll have 10 seconds to have a rebuttal. So whenever you're ready, Russell will start.
Rudy Rudiger, the kid that was the small kid that never got, always had to sit out in football and all that stuff, comes to Notre Dame, works his way up to end up playing for the football team. We see in the movie his struggles to try to get into Holy Cross and to try to work his way up into Notre Dame University. Goes out on the football team, gets the shit beat out of him all the time. Ends up having wins his whole entire team over because of the heart that he plays with. Ends up
time. All right, Jeremy, whenever you're ready, we'll start the clock.
Hoosiers has a great performance with Gene Hackman. I mean, Rudy's a good movie, but the real life Rudy has gone back in time and said a lot of those elements didn't really happen. There's some flaws in the story. So it kind of hurts the movie overall. Hoosiers had some great characters, great development. It was a great story. It was true to the source material. And to me, Rudy didn't on all the points that it needed to hit, which was this great build-up story about who Rudy was and what he came to be.
Time. All right. So, Jeremy, when you're ready, we'll have your 10-second countdown begin. Or Russell, my bad.
To me, I do think that Rudy stands the test of time. The movie is a great feel-good movie, good family movie, and on top of it, it launched Favreau and Vince Vaughn career too. So yeah, Rudy, feel-good movie, and you're always rooting for the underdog. So absolutely, Rudy all day.
Okay. All right, whenever you're ready, Jeremy.
I could say you made the same argument with Hoosiers when it came to an underdog story. I mean, this is about a story, but no one really believed in him. It happened. This inspirational performance, encouraging all these kids. And it was just a great, especially when it comes to encouraging kids as opposed to, encouraging, college players. It's a much different.
Okay. So this one was close, but in the end, with the 10-second rebuttal, I will have to give it to Russell. I feel like he just pointed out a couple more positive things for Rudy. So it's going to be 3-2. Now, this one should be easier for you guys to come up with an answer to. What is the best comedy sequel?
Can we go ahead and take this one?
Yeah, whenever you come up with an answer.
All right, I got American Pie 2 for this one.
Okay. Jeremy?
Sequel. You know what? I'm
All right. So we'll start with Russell again because he did say American Pie 2 first. Same thing, 20 seconds, then 10 seconds. So Russell, when you're ready, countdown will begin.
The rarity that happens in sequels, a lot of the original cast doesn't come over to the second one. You can't say that about American Pie 2. It was cut and paste, same characters, same everything. Casey Affleck also in the movie, Academy Award-winning actor. The movie is funny. You get to see a little bit of different sides of them in college. You get to see a little bit more about Stifler, a little bit more about Kevin, a little bit more about Oz. The whole entire characters, you get more in-depth as what happens post-high school, what happens in college, and then finally the big finale is they all have a big party.
Time.
And they all...
Okay. Whenever you're ready, Jeremy.
when it came, Naked Gun 3 did a great job when it came to building back up the second one, which was kind of underwhelming. You had a lot of great cameo when it comes to you had Phil Donahue. You had many. To me, the comedy was still upright from the first movie. It was great action, great entertainment. Had all the elements. Still had the elements from the romance between Priscilla Presley and Leslie Nielsen. To me, American Pie 2 was just a little too much raunchy. Didn't quite have all the elements that made the first American Pie special. And Naked Gun to me was a great ending to a great comedy trilogy.
Okay. So we'll go back with Russell with 10 seconds whenever he's ready.
Naked Gun 3 was not that good. American Pie 2 was better just because of the fact that it actually did explore more of the characters. And it made the first one was successful. The second one was even more successful. So to me, absolutely American Pie.
All right, time. All right, whenever you're ready, Jeremy. All right.
I think American Pie 3 kept the faith of the original while continuing to base off the story. American Pie 2, to me, I think you just had too much stuff going for it, too many characters convoluted. Naked Gun 3 had its elements. It performed all those well enough. And to me, that's why I think Naked Gun 3 is still a better movie.
All right. This was really close as well. Came down to just the hits that you guys had on the others and, obviously saying why yours was better than the other. And I'm going to have to give it to Jeremy on this one. I feel like he edged it out on this one. I feel like he had some more points as to why yours wasn't as good as his. So with that being said, Jeremy is our winner. The score will be 4-2. Very, very close game, guys. This could have went either way with one more point from one person or the other. Could be a completely different game. It could be 4-3. Could be, 4-2. Russell wins. So, first off, Russell, what are your thoughts on the game? How did you enjoy it and all that fun stuff?
I did enjoy it. And to make a correction, I believe Jeremy also said American Pie 3 when he was rebuttaling my movie, but that's okay. Anyway, like I said, honestly, it was great. I had fun. These aren't movies I would normally, debate with people. And like how Jeremy said, this is something completely out of my element. I'm more about watching movies, reviewing them and stuff like that. This was fun, a little bit something different, be passionate about movies and stuff like that. I'm glad I won Rudy, though, because that was one of my favorite football movies. So I made sure I had to get all that stuff in on that. But, yeah, it was fun. Like I said, Jeremy, he knows his shit. I know coming into it, I had to bring my A game, and I did. And, he won, so hats off to him.
Jeremy, what are your thoughts on today?
I'm not going to lie. I completely blanked when you said comedy sequel. I'm starting to run through all the sequels, and I'm like, oh, shit, that's not a good sequel. No, that's not a good sequel either. Naked Gun 3, obviously, I've seen all the movies well enough. I thought I could make a good enough case as to why it was the best comedy sequel, even though I really don't think it's that great. But ultimately, it came down to a couple split decisions, a couple things that I had to pop in my head last second, because Russell brought a lot of really good arguments to the table. And I'm not going to lie, really didn't expect I was going to win this. So I'm really happy with how I performed. Obviously, like I said, this is not my forte. I don't really have movie debates with anybody, so to see that I performed as well as I did makes me feel real good going forward, and I really look forward to coming back.
Oh yeah, and you guys definitely have matches scheduled right now. I don't know when they're gonna happen, but you guys are on our schedule. So yeah, that's been the fight. Russell, do you have anything to plug before
No,
you
like
head
I
out?
said, hats off to Jeremy. Like I said, I enjoyed this. Different element, definitely out of our element on this one. I still think American Pie is 2 better than Naked Gun 3. I can argue that night and day if I had more time. Overall, though, no, I liked it. It was fun, and it was definitely. It was funny because I think Jeremy and I actually had a lot of the same movies that we were thinking of. Because Roland Emmerich, I knew we were both thinking Independence Day right off the bat, and then I thought about it. I'm like, you know what? Probably ease the brakes on this one, and I decided to do the other one. But with other things, those spoof movies and stuff like that, I probably could have picked. I wanted to think of something different because I was thinking Airplane or Naked Gun, but I didn't want to do the What You Think. You know what I mean? I was even thinking even Scary Movie for a spoof movie too, just because that movie is really hilarious. But no, I think everything I picked was good, and to highlight our Star Wars thing, there's so much in that trailer. There's so much you could argue about, and like how Jeremy said, we don't know what's going to happen. That's the thing. That voiceover of Luke might not even be in the movie. Who knows? And that's the thing. I'm just going by what I thought. How I felt the movie should go, or how I was kind of hoping it would go, maybe to make for an interesting story. And like overall, I had a good time with it. Jeremy, hats off to you. You did a good job, and I'm looking forward to get back in the ring.
All right. All right. So before we head out, where can people find you guys? Either one can state first.
I have my own video movie review website. I do trailer reviews and movie reviews as well. It's called How's Hollywood Reviews. I'm going to do top 10s and stuff like that, and also going to try to bring in guests. So if you're a fan of movies, get a hold of me via Facebook, Russell Howell. I'm in the movie Battlegrounds group or Schmodown group or whatever. Get a hold of me, and I'd like to try to get as many people on the show too to talk about everything movies. So yeah.
All right. Awesome. How about you, Jeremy?
Well, you can go to my YouTube page, JTH, pretty self-explanatory. You can follow me on Twitter at WWEJTH1. I do a bunch of Throwdown reaction videos and talk about a lot of other stuff. You can see my most recent match on Worldwide Movie Trivia from Take 3. I seem to get a lot of questions wrong. I'm actually glad I actually won something for once. That's kind of new for me. But yeah, ultimately this was a whole lot of fun, and virtual handshake to Russell. Real good match, and look forward to coming back.
Absolutely. And of course, you can find me here on the channel and the Movie Battleground Facebook page, all the Schmodown stuff and all of the movie group things. I'm sure you can find me there. So thank you guys very much for watching. I've been Matt. Make sure you subscribe also. Check out the matches. So yeah, take care.